is. Oh, you're just going to leave that to me, huh? First take. Now.
Week 5 is underway.
The Raiders are back in front.
For the win, it is good.
Let the people shout, let the people shout. Whoa, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Welcome again to the Magic Show.
The Colts knock off the Chiefs in Arrowhead.
Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, I'm Molly Karam. How's everybody
We'll just
doing?
air it because
Yes, that's true.
that's right.
I've been battling weather.
Everybody's sick.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm staying away from all y'all.
you sick?
No, I'm healthy.
I'm healthy too.
I'm healthy.
I've been in bed all weekend. All weekend since Friday night. But I'm better now.
Good.
I'm not 100%, but I'm better.
I think
The
I know why.
Cowboys- the
Yeah,
Cowboys
we'll get to
made me-
that
That made you
in
feel
just
better,
a
didn't
bit.
it?
But we got some breaking news out of our nation's capital. Let's get right there. Redskins team president Bruce Allen and head coach Jay Gruden met at Redskins Park early this morning to inform Gruden he has been fired. A source tells Adam Schefter that assistant head coach and offensive line coach Bill Callahan will be the interim head coach. Gruden made the playoffs once in 2015 and was below 500 in his tenure. Stephen A., you called it last week. What's your reaction to this latest news?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you acknowledging that I called it last week because I ain't
said
hear
Monday it was gonna happen.
I said last Monday. I ain't hear no other show on ESPN acknowledging that. It just amazes me. But if I was wrong, I'd have heard from everybody. But that's neither here nor there. Here's the reality: Jay Gruden should have been gone. This is too little, too late on the part of Daniel Snyder. Jay Gruden's record as a head coach is 35. 41, 49 and 1. That's 14 games under 500. He has not been impressive, and more importantly than that, again, I don't know the man personally. I'm only echoing the sentiments that have been said about him, which is that they questioned his work ethic. They said that he hid behind Sean McVay. Daniel Snyder, Max Kellerman, is ultimately the individual that takes the greatest hit because you had a guy in Sean McVay, who was there as your offensive coordinator before he got the Rams job. You had a Kyle Shanahan, who was once in your organization. You let him go. So you have individuals that are considered, that are highly respected and held in high esteem in the National Football League that are head coaches for other franchises that worked under Jay Gruden. And Daniel Snyder let them walk out the door in favor of keeping Jay Gruden, whose work ethic he questioned. There were questions about his relationship with executive Bruce Allen, although they both denied that there was any friction coming into this season. In the end, here's the reality, and this is the harsh reality. The only reason why Jay Gruden got the head coaching job to begin with, and the only reason why he lasted this long, according to people that I speak to in the National Football League, is because of his last name. John Gruden wasn't with the Oakland Raiders. He was in the Monday night booth telling everybody at the time he didn't want to be a head coach anymore. So they thought that they'd get, just a reincarnation per se, same last name, pedigree, et cetera, et cetera. It did not work out that way. Some people ain't meant to be a head coach. Some people are destined to be coordinators. And Jay Gruden's record as head coach of the Washington Redskins proved just that.
The issue with Washington is the owner, Dan Snyder. And you know what I love about this? Like with Jim Dolan with the Knicks. You keep hiring, firing people, whatever you want to do. The futility on the field is what it is since you bought the team. The more you get rid of guys and bring new guys in, the more we see there's one constant. His record of failure, Dan Snyder, is there for everyone to see. He's the worst owner in the NFL and one of the worst in sports. And by the way, he's almost dangerous because he really is a football fan. Like, he really does love the team, right? But because he doesn't know much compared to actual football people, if he gets attached to a guy, to an idea, he's going to overrule his football people. And that's been reported several times. Stephen A., so a fish rots from the head down. And was Jay Gruden a good coach? Obviously not. If you listen to people like Deshaun Jackson, Stephen A., when Deshaun Jackson left Philly, he was upset about it. But did you hear him saying things like they don't want to win in Philadelphia and all that kind of stuff? No. That locker room was no good. When he left Washington, and it wasn't even like he said it with malice. It was just like, bro, you walk in there and it's just, they don't think they're going to win. That was the team under Jay Gruden. And so, yes, you have to get rid of him. But my point is, you can get rid of Jay Gruden, get another guy, whatever. The problem starts at the very top, Dan Snyder. So as a Giants fan, I'm glad he owns the team. I want him to own that team forever. And by the way, that's with sensitivity to the idea that I don't mention their name. I call them the franchise from Washington because I find it highly offensive, that name. And, of course, he defends it and arrogantly doubles down and we're never going to change the name and all this kind of stuff. He's bad on a lot of fronts, the football product being the primary one.
Well, the bottom line is this. They've only won 2 playoff games since 1992. Since 1992, this franchise, they won the Super Bowl in 1991. They won a playoff game that next year and lost in the divisional playoff round in 1992. Since 1992, spanning nearly 30 years, the Washington Redskins have 2 playoff games on its resume and only 1 playoff victory they had a playoff victory in 2005. That was their last playoff victory. They have not won a playoff game since 2005.
We're not talking about Super Bowls here.
They haven't won a playoff game.
Win.
They haven't won a playoff game. And they've only been to the playoffs 3 times in the last 14
the
years.
last in the playoffs, 2015. We'll have much more on this later, including what's next for the Washington Redskins. But let's get to Dallas.
Yeah.
It was all about the errands at Jerry's World. Both Rodgers and Jones. Jones had 4 rushing touchdowns en route to a 34-24 victory over Dallas. Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper did lead a comeback, but it wasn't enough. Dak, Zeke, talk to me.
We're not backing down. As I said, we'll take this one on the chin. We're going to take the good, take the bad. We're going to learn from it, and hopefully we'll look back at this and say this was a turning point or this was good for us.
I think it is a reality check, I think we just gotta, take this loss, take these last 2 losses, and use them as fuel. We gotta come out and play a lot harder, play a lot better, and execute. Man, it's gonna be hard to win games in this league if we're gonna keep shooting ourselves in the foot. We just gotta be a better team.
I'll start with you.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a name for this, Stephen A. I'll marinate on what exactly that should be. People could tweet us, let us know.
Yeah.
Because he's something special. Tell me this. What was the headline from yesterday? Was it the Packers win or that the Cowboys were exposed?
Believe it or not, normally I would sit up there and I'd tell you that it was the Cowboys being exposed, obviously, because they lost the 2nd game in a row. And as a result, they're no longer in complete control of first take within the NFC East. They're tied with the Philadelphia Eagles now. Just a couple weeks ago, Max. A couple weeks ago. We were sitting there talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. They were in a must-win situation going into a Thursday night game against those Green Bay Packers.
I never thought that was must-win for the record.
I did. I said, hey, if the Eagles lose that game and the Cowboys win Sunday against Teddy Bridgewater, because there was no Drew Brees, that the Philadelphia Eagles would have been 3 games out, and that would have been that. And lo and behold, just 10 little old days later, it's tied 3-2 within the NFC East. Just like that, that black cat running around that franchise showed its ugly head. And as a result, we sit here today with the Dallas Cowboys no longer in complete control of that NFC East now. Now let's get to the specifics. Because as we look at the Green Bay Packers, we saw Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 34, 238 yards. My personal opinion, that damn Aaron Jones. What is it? 19 carries, 107 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns against those Dallas Cowboys. Seem to be struggling a little bit against that running game. And the thing about it is that their defense for the Green Bay Packers, we haven't been raving enough about them. We've noticed them. We paid attention to them, Matt Kellerman. But at the same time, we haven't given them the appreciation that they deserve. Suddenly, Ezekiel Elliott didn't look so formidable. Following up an 18-carry, 35-yard performance against New Orleans Saints, what does he do? Second go around, 12 carries, 62 yards. Not bad. Looks like they should have gave him the ball more. But guess what? Dallas Cowboys didn't do that. Why? Because they want to run. They want to throw that football. Kellen Moore, your new offensive coordinator, he's not Scott Linehan. We're going to throw that football a little bit more. And the Green Bay Packers said, not so fast, because we're not sure about your passing game. We're going to shut that thing down. Dallas Cowboys came into the game allowing just 3 sacks. This particular game, they gave up 3 sacks in one game. They got a little bit exposed offensively. You can punch them in the mouth. You can neutralize the run to some degree. Even when they pass the football effectively enough, like Amari Cooper having 226 yards receiving, in the end, it still didn't prove enough. They're front runners. When they got a lead, they look pretty damn good. When they had a deficit, panic sets in. This is what I love about the Dallas Cowboys, Max. I'll give it to you by saying this. In the end, as they climb and the pressure builds, pressure, as they say in the country, breaks pipes. And that's exactly what happened yesterday afternoon in Big D. And I must say, I'm quite fond of what I saw.
So if pressure bust pipes, Stephen A., then you're agreeing that the Dallas Cowboys were exposed. Look, I hope this isn't Green Bay firing on all cylinders yet. It'd be great if it's not, right? Mm-hmm. Then we got a real challenger to win a title. The Cowboys, for whatever reason, I took Aaron Jones in daily fantasy, gave me 52 points and the win this week.
Ooh.
And that's partly because, as Matthew Berry pointed out, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys, for some reason, and I don't know why, when you look at that linebacking core who did not look good, those guys did not look good yesterday, they have a problem covering running backs who can catch passes. And that's an issue because, I don't know, that's the entire league now. Anytime you have a real good running game, you're not just talking about a running back like Adrian Pete, not pitched that high, but a guy who's just going to run the ball. You're talking about a guy who can catch passes out of the backfield.
I reckon you're right.
Yeah,
Continue.
And that's Aaron Jones. And going in, you knew that's a problem for the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Why did Van Der Esch and these guys not look good? They're supposed to be. I was raving about them early. But are the Cowboys exposed? The answer is yes. They exposed the Cowboys here. Think about the wins they had early in the season. The Giants, right now the Giants have 2 wins, but that's only because Daniel Jones instead of Eli Manning. And that speaks as much to Eli Manning's poor play as what Daniel Jones did. If you would have just replaced Eli with a competent starting quarterback, like even like a Kirk Cousins type, they wouldn't have looked that bad early in the season. He couldn't get anything done. So that's when the Cowboys played the Giants and Washington and Miami. You're talking about some of the worst teams we can remember seeing. Miami's like the worst team anyone can remember in recent years. And Washington's not far behind. And the Giants at the time were in the same boat with them. That's why Eli Manning, who was supposed to play all season as Daniel Jones developed, got yanked after 2 games. Those are the teams that the Cowboys looked great against. Then as soon as they play real competition, they fold at home. By the way, against backup quarterbacks. No, you have to say that this game, if you're talking about the headline of this game, it's Cowboys exposed. They look like Super Bowl pretenders right now.
They come at you with it. We haven't seen that from a Green Bay Packers defense in years. We've been paying attention. Everything has been predicated on Aaron Rodgers, what he brings to the table. Back in the day, it was Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. Most recently, it was the Geronimo Allisons with the Devontae Adams, okay? Then it was obviously just Aaron Rodgers, the relationship with Mike McCarthy or lack thereof, which he spoke about after the game in terms of speaking culturally how things have changed in Green Bay. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the Green Bay Packers have a defense. And I'm not saying that it might not be as elite as we think it is or it has looked against somewhat inferior competition over the first few weeks of the season. But in the end, when we look at this Green Bay Packers defense compared to what we used to see, there is no denying that these brothers are vastly improved. And if that is the case and you got any kind of running game in Green Bay, I got news for you. We talk about legitimate title contenders when we talk about that.
On the flip side, though, we have Dak Prescott. We're going to get into Dak later in the show, playing for a contract. We have Ezekiel Elliott, who already got paid, and the question is, you know, against a run defense, by the way, that looked bad against Philadelphia.
Right.
Last time we saw him, like, what happened to that? That's not a vaunted defense. Everyone's touting the Green Bay defense. They got ran all over. But against the Cowboys, you can load up against Ezekiel Elliott, and it somehow works. And then Dak, I think a little too much is said about his performance yesterday. He was hitting guys like Cooper drops a pass. Dak, to me, was okay.
No.
But he was okay to me. I know Jerry Jones is getting upset, and you're getting upset, and everyone's getting upset.
Oh, I'm not upset.
Right. Oh,
You
you're happy.
weren't a little bit impressed by the comeback? The almost comeback?
Yeah,
no, because he put
Him and
himself.
Amari Cooper,
Listen.
they got themselves
I
back.
understand that, but he put himself in bad spots, and all I can think about with Dak Prescott, which we'll get into later on in the show, is how he's potentially costing himself money with each passing.
Yeah, I mean, we disagree about that, obviously. We're going to debate that. But I think right now, if you say, is that about Green Bay? Not yet. Let's see Aaron Rodgers really start to ball, and then I'll say, okay, now it's about Green Bay. Because we don't know. Maybe in this system, he never really gets to do that, but okay. But the Dallas Cowboys now in consecutive weeks got exposed. They only have wins over terrible teams this year.
All right, your Cowboys will be here in New York next week if you want to check them out. They'll be facing the Jets, and then it'll be the Packers and Lions. That should be a good name. That'll be on ESPN Monday Night Football, but a lot more to come here, especially tonight. This is going to be a really good one. Jimmy Garoppolo, the 3-0 Niners hosting Baker Mayfield in the 2-2 Browns at Levi Stadium, 8 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes in the app. I've been waiting for this one all week long. I'm not even talking to you. How surprising was the Chiefs' loss to the Colts? One of these guys says not surprising at all. Plus, Jay Gruden has been fired. We'll debate what that means for Dwayne Haskins and the franchise coming up.